Good morning, YouTube. We have another Tesla Cybertruck recall, stopping all new sales of the Cybertruck.
So it has to be serious if they're recalling.
Oh, super duper serious. It has to do with the big floppy wiper.
But it has a name, like the mono blade, the monocle blade.
I had no idea. I call it the big stupid wiper. And yes, it was very strange when I had my Cybertruck because every once in a while it would just park itself down here.
Right.
And I'd just wait a while and all of a sudden it would go back up. Sometimes it would spray washer fluid and sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes it would spray washer fluid and then not go. I didn't really understand.
It was buggy.
It was very buggy and apparently some people it just doesn't work. It quit working entirely, and it's enough for Tesla to be like, we need to fix this, and so they are issuing a recall. And this one's a little bit harder than the previous recall with the stop sale that actually delayed my Cybertruck delivery a little over a month ago with the pedal.
Well, and they're stopping deliveries as well for this.
Correct. So yeah, they stopped deliveries because of the pedal coming loose, the decorative cover on it, and then they would slide but could get caught in some trim. And then have an unintended acceleration, but the fix was a rivet. I mean, it takes 5 seconds. Always doing the live long and prosper rivet going into the pedal, through to the hard metal part, and it doesn't move with the glue. It will never go anywhere. But you spent $100,000 to have a truck that has a rivet holding in the accelerator pedal.
Right.
This one is going to take a lot more effort to redesign. This big giant mono wiper that sometimes doesn't cover the windshield all the way adequately. Like I would have a dead spot in the middle sometimes where it would sort of come loose and pull away. I'm trying to illustrate this without like having gang symbols or, you know, like hailing Hitler or something. But, well, you know, because it's dangerous. I'm using my left hand.
Okay. I mean, it is hard though to cover that huge of a span with just one blade.
Yeah, well, Mercedes did it with the 124 and the 140 chassis Mercedes. That's the S-Class and E-Class of the 80s and the mid-90s, where basically the wiper has an articulation in it. There's a motor. Here we go again. Of this, it goes up and then over and then and it is pretty stinking cool to see that thing articulate.
But it's still not as expansive of a windshield as the Cybertruck.
Right, but still has good coverage. With Tesla, it's like, let's just make a 6-foot long wiper blade. That'll do it.
Yeah, are they from Kansas?
I don't know, bigger is better if it's built in Texas.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do to figure this out. But I've sold my Cybertruck. It's actually advertised for sale right now for $130,000, almost $131,000, which I find interesting. I traded it in for $111 on the Lyric.
Right.
No regrets whatsoever, and I have no care in the world for whatever they bring for it. But I talked to the used car manager about it.
Yeah.
And, you know, talking about how the bottoms were falling on the prices, and I just wanted to get out before it was gone. It could be a month, it could be 6 months, but probably a good idea to list this thing for sale, you know, at a normal price and sell it quickly. They're not taking my advice. They don't care.
That's really cool of you. You're unloading this car that you're like, the value's going to drop out. You're just being completely honest about.
Right. Well, I was completely honest after they agreed to the number, and I was making the exchange and already signed the paperwork, and then was just talking to him about it. But yeah, they're asking $131,000 for it, even though there are 50 for sale currently on Auto Trader for under 120 grand.
Wait, and so the rule is you're not supposed to sell it for a year after you get it.
Right, so I could be sued by Tesla for it. Nobody has and nobody will. Of course, I'm like, you know, kind of goading them now to do it, even though I say, you won't sue me, but
maybe
they'll make an example out of me.
Maybe they'll like put all the owners in some sort of
the
like
minor
jail cell
YouTube
together.
Celebrity example where they're like, that's the one I'm going to crack the whip on, right? Yeah, exactly.
That'd be terrible. But was there any little tiny bit of like sadness, you know, you're not going to be driving anymore? Because it's such like a superstar eye catcher. Like people actually just will still follow you into some parking lot at like Home Depot and wanting to talk to you and wanting a tour, and they want the whole visual audio tour where it's its own song for like 2 minutes. And
no, it was fun for a little bit, and it was fun to like go to one of my son's friends' birthday parties and show it to other kids and go, yeah, I'm the cool dad, obviously. But
obviously.
No, it got old pretty quick. And yeah, $131,000 is what they want for it, where like the cheapest one on Auto Trader right now is $105,000. So they bought it for 111. I mean, most of them are around 119. I think 115 they would probably get pretty easily. And I would suggest that they advertise it for that, make $5 grand, and move it along before they get stuck.
Yeah.
because I do think this wiper recall isn't going to be what the downfall of the Cybertruck and potentially Tesla is going to be. But
That would be so sad if
before we
it
get
was.
into that, your impressions, because you drove it a few times.
Yeah. It's,
Over the last month and a half, you
Mm-hmm.
experienced it all with me. I mean, what did you think of the Cybertruck?
I didn't want to like it. I just was fully against it. You know, we've talked at Barrett Jackson on live national TV, and I'm just totally digging on electric cars. And I love, I'm sorry, I love the Cybertruck. It's just so cool and immersive, and just that huge, massive windshield is amazing. And it doesn't feel like you're in a car or a truck. You're in like some sort of tram that's
A Ford Aerostar.
a Ford Aerostar.
Toyota Previa.
Yes. Is that what they were based off of?
Similar windshields, but yes.
Yeah, I do think the design of like the wheels, like I feel like if aliens landed on Earth and they looked at the Cybertruck, there'd be like there's this like hexagon kind of wheel cutout.
Yeah.
And then round wheels that go in that space, and they'll be like, okay, those two shapes like don't fit together. That's kind of weird. Like you humans are a little slow with what fits together. It's kind of silly and lagging.
So you like the looks, I like the looks.
Yeah.
But what about driving it? Because you did drive it a few times.
Driving it's great. I mean, it's an electric car. It feels like an electric car. It's quiet. It's very minimalistic. It's not trying to look like a car where a lot of these other electric cars, they still kind of have that pattern on the grille sort of to look like a grill. And this one doesn't. This was its own thing. It's very minimalistic. You know, back in the day, you'll see so many designs on cars like from the 50s that have tons of heavy chrome and just unnecessary things that make it look cool. They have no function but looks cool. The Cybertruck, I feel like, is all function. That's it. It's very base.
I do like the way it looks. I do like the functionality of it, the steer-by-wire, the way it drives and feels. I do wish it had a little more buttons and functionality to be able to, like, you know, quickly turn things off without toggling through screens. That was one of my big complaints. Also, it not having full self-driving and seeming like it'll never have full self-driving, or at least months away, or who the heck knows. They say one thing and then could be tomorrow, it could be years. So I don't know. I paid the extra $8,000 for it. The power share thing for the house was another thing I complained about, where the install costs were way more. Like, you could just buy a home diesel generator for what it costs for the install of the power share module to where your Cybertruck could run your house.
Right.
So that was supposed to come with it. It doesn't make any sense.
But it was really cool when the power went out at the house and there's all the construction workers, and you literally drove the Cybertruck along to all the workers and said, plug it on in, plug in your power tools.
Yeah.
You plugged in the fountain for the pond, and it's such a great innovative thing that's just connected right there.
It is neat. If I wasn't terrified of the catastrophic depreciation, I would have kept it. Or if it was priced, you know, normally, like if they started out with a $79,000 truck that qualified for the $7,500 tax credit, and it was $72,500, that truck would still be here.
Right.
I wouldn't have sold it. I would have hung on to it. But $100,000.
What did Elon say it was going to be when he first came out?
It was originally like $39,995 for the rear-wheel drive, the single motor, and then I think $60,000 for the all-wheel drive, and then
which is crazy, and it reminds me of the DeLorean. You know, obviously the whole stainless steel panels and everything like that, but the DeLorean DMC 12 was the model, right? It was going to go for $12,000, and it basically doubled throughout its build. And it's the same thing with the Cybertruck. And so I'm kind of waiting to see if the Cybertruck kind of follows more in the footsteps of the demise of the DeLorean.
Well, I really think the Cybertruck will have probably one of those major downfalls, or just a very humbling moment. And if it's a massive redesign or just totally canceled in general, I feel like it's certainly possible. And I'm going to give a few historical references to, like, the Chevy Corvair. Unsafe at any speed was what Ross Perot said. You know, that was sort of a darling, and sort of an alternative to the Volkswagen Beetle. And they were extremely dangerous. You get rear-ended, they'd catch fire. Maybe it was blown out of proportion a little bit, but definitely politicized to an extent. More recent examples, so like the Ford Bronco 2, the rollover risk was so extreme that it just became known as a very, very dangerous vehicle. The Ford Explorer had a massive redesign after the rollover risk with the Firestone tire thing. Chevy Cobalts, I don't know if you remember that one, where the ignition switch would fail on them, and they would turn the cars off when you're driving.
What?
And disable the airbags. So
What?
they contribute maybe like 200 people dying in accidents related to Chevy Cobalts and the ignition switches. And a lot of it, people saying it's like, girls would have Cobalts and they put like 10 pounds of stuff on the keychain and that would hasten the demise of the ignition switch. But still, that became a bad mark on American cars and the Cobalt, and we don't have that anymore with Chevy.
Well, wasn't your friend Shmi saying that they can't sell them in Europe because they're so dangerous to pedestrians?
Correct.
Which seems crazy.
That is what I'm getting to. We're talking about the most dangerous new car on the road today. Elon says if you get in an accident in the Cybertruck, you will win. But what happens when they do introduce full self-driving in the Cybertruck, and the most dangerous vehicles on the road as far as the most deaths right now, Ford F-150 and the Chevy Silverado, not because they're particularly unsafe for the occupants, but the people who drive those big trucks do stupid things, and then they're big trucks and they just are more prone to kill people.
They demolish you.
So a Ford and a Chevy, big, tall, battering rams, heavy. Imagine the Tesla Cybertruck. It's even heavier, and it is a giant stainless steel sword with multiple razor's edge.
Yes.
And with full self-driving, they're going to be on their phones, because it's not like the Cadillac Lyriq, where the Cadillac Lyriq with their Super Cruise, I was on my phone looking at my phone a little bit too much while I'm driving, which I know I'm not supposed to do, but you kind of trust the Super Cruise, and it immediately just shuts off. Because it has infrared little sensors to see your eyes.
Which is
through glasses, through anything, that's why it's infrared. And it can tell if you're looking down, if you're looking away, if you're falling asleep, and it will turn off the Super Cruise.
When I was worried about you driving that because you love to use a Super Cruise, and then, I feel like we've all done it. We'll kind of get lost in a text message for a half a second too long, and you don't know what's going on around you, and it could be very dangerous. But with the Super Cruise and those infrared lights, it literally shuts off right away.
It will not, not right away. What it does is it'll say, maybe 20, 30 seconds, and it'll kind of warn you and like shake the seat and all that stuff. And then say, no, stupid, you were not paying attention for too long, it's off. And you have to wait a few minutes to kick it back on again. And then say you divert your attention for 5, 10 seconds, and it punishes you again. And eventually just will not turn back on until you pull over, turn the car off, turn the car back on. So GM very worried about their drivers not paying attention with Super Cruise. With Tesla, it's having a hand on the steering wheel. Or some people will put, a bottle, to sort of simulate their hand on the steering wheel, or something else, fruit or whatever. But basically, Tesla's way to know that the driver's paying attention is to have a little bit of steering wheel input, which I think is interesting. So that's why I know there's one person that has been able to make an entire porn career out of just inviting women porn stars to drive with him in his Tesla on autopilot and just do them while the car drives itself. And I think it's a whole video series of I think I may have done it for research. Maybe there's hundreds of them. I don't know. This was long before we met that I was researching this video. Long before we met.
But you're right. When you first started talking about that, they're buggy. All these electric vehicles are buggy. I feel like we're in the AOL phase of electric cars, where it's a little slower. It's buggy. It might freeze, and you have to restart it.
To my credit, even Elon was the one commented on it years ago, saying this was bound to happen or something like that with the autopilot.
I was trying to change the subject to help you, and you went back there.
Okay. So here's my thought. What is going to happen? Full self-driving, with already owners of trucks who tend to not pay attention, big giant battering ram. When's the first time that it doesn't see something in the road, or the driver saying, oh, I was in autopilot and it just cut this person in half? Because that's what these trucks will do. With these edges and with the height of them, it will cut people in half.
Well, I don't know if there's a better efficiency.
In my opinion. Sorry, I'm going to get sued again by Tesla. But
if there's a better efficiency with machines than there are with people and humans making irrational decisions, humans not seeing things, humans looking around and being distracted, there might be a better fail-safe record for electric cars avoiding pedestrians than there are actual humans avoiding
It's certainly
pedestrians.
possible, but if it was designed like the Model Y knows or the Model 3 knows, or or just even with cars, like the way this thing is going to hit, Elon says you will win if you get in an accident with this.
Right.
Like it will split other cars in half. It will split people in half. And how many times will it take for this thing to, kill pedestrians, split cars in two, and people saying, it's self-driving. There's already a lot of articles, a lot of press on this where people were trusting the autopilot and hitting things and dying and all that stuff in lawsuits. But with the Cybertruck, I think it's just, 10 times, in my opinion, don't sue me, in my opinion, 10, 50, 100 times more dangerous than anything they make right now as far as it impacting something else.
You could do an attachable sort of makeshift mattress for the front of it, and then it could have a dual purpose for the back, like you were talking about earlier.
Oh, right.
Right.
Or, now I'm picturing like their fix from Tesla when it kills one too many people and they're dragged in front of Congress to be like, you built a car that is like chopping people in half. What are you going to do? And then they'll use like the bumpers they use to when you tie boats together, and they're like, we'll put buoys on the front, and that'll fix it, and it'll be the cyber buoys, right?
Great.
Yeah, boobs, the cyber boobs. There we go. Yeah.
Like Dagmars on the old cars.
I
Coming out.
just solved the Cybertruck's fatal flaw right there. Yeah.
It means a whole bra.
Some big old triple D cyber boobies.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching.
Cyber
But it is really serious. Like
It sounds serious.
it's gonna happen, in my opinion. In my opinion.
The
Jake,
boobs?
disclaimers everywhere on in my opinion.